Best of all though, as you can see, it's kind of got a little bit of a new design, well, sort of, anyway. As you can see, the chassis of the Note 4 is constructed of metal, kind of like the Galaxy Alpha, and you can see there's a nice silver lining on the edge there, where the rest of the sides of the Note 4 have the same color as the rest of the device. The corners also have the same flared corners like you saw on the Alpha as well. On the bottom we've got two mics, we've got the S Pen of course, which you can see once you remove it you'll get the Air Command window. There's a micro USB port on the bottom as well, and on the left hand side we have our volume rocker with a nice sort of relief detail. And then on the back we've got a bit of a different texture. It's similar to the Note 3 but a little bit different. It feels a little bit nicer. We've got the heart rate monitor that we also saw on the S5, and of course the 16 megapixel ISOCELL camera up the top. Right up top we have the headphone jack and the IR blaster. Oh, and one thing you might be happy to know is that with this renewed interest in design, Samsung took away the fake stitching on the back as well, which makes me happy anyway. Unfortunately though, the speaker is still on the back at the bottom there. Now, as usual, of course, we have a removable flimsy plastic case on the back, so that pops off to reveal the removable battery, which is 3220 milliamp hours, and of course our SIM card and micro SD. So the Note comes running Android 4.4.4, which will obviously get an update before too long, and the TouchWiz user interface. Of course, TouchWiz looks pretty familiar, but there's obviously a bunch of S Pen functions specific to the Note 4. So we'll get into those in a little bit, but one thing we can tell you, on our international preview model, the quad-core Snapdragon 805, which is clocked at 2.7 GHz, in conjunction with 3 GB of RAM, is more than sufficient for the most demanding tasks. In our hands-on, the device showed no signs of delay or crashes, and even TouchWiz couldn't slow it down. So here's the S Pen. The S Pen is obviously one of the major selling points of the Note 4, and Samsung's brought even more new features and improvements to the mix in this year's Note. Input to response has been continually improved over the years. Handwriting recognition is better than ever, and the S Pen functions as a whole have been continually refined, and that really shines through here. If you want to see some more of the S Pen functions and software features, you can jump to the full hands-on review article. But one thing I did want to point out was this Smart Select option, where you can select sections of the screen using the S Pen, and it kind of intelligently selects stuff. It's not just like a screen grabbing kind of thing. You can grab stuff like metadata, links, all kinds of stuff, including text, and you can then use those to share in SMS or any other kind of application as well. It's kind of cool, so keep an eye out for that in further videos. Of course, you can also use the S Pen to tap on the multifunction buttons and the home button. So your recents menu is now in the nice Android L style card stack. And if you take a look at the top right, you can tap on any of those apps to enable multi-window. Unfortunately, as before, you can still only use certain Google and Samsung system apps. You can't use everything, but still, multi-window is one of the great features of the Note, and it's no different in the Note 4. Now, in case you haven't noticed by now, the screen is obviously one of the big highlights of the Note 4. It has the same size 5.7 inch screen, Super AMOLED display, but this time with QHD resolution with 2560 by 1440 pixels. That's a pixel density of 515 pixels per inch. One thing we can say is that Samsung has come close to perfection with this screen. It's ultra sharp, there's great color, excellent contrast, and really good viewing angles. I mean, seriously, this screen is boss. So as I said before, the main camera on the Note 4 is a 16 megapixel camera. It's pretty much the same as the S5. It's an ISOCELL sensor, and all the shooting modes and real-time HDR are the same, but it finally adds some gimmicks, of course. On the Note 4 you'll get 3 microphones, so there's 2 at the bottom and 1 up the top. Now they work together to minimize noisy environments, so if you're, say, recording an interview, the extra microphones will record the ambient noise, which you can then later isolate and then remove. It's actually really cool. It didn't work superbly in our test, but we'll have to test it a little bit further in future. Of course, we can't say too much about the battery of the Note 4 yet, only that it has a 3220 milliamp hour capacity, and of course it's removable, but it does have a quick charge function. So according to Samsung, you can charge the Note 4 to 50% capacity in just 30 minutes. So obviously this is our first few minutes with the Galaxy Note 4, which has just been announced at IFA 2014. We'll bring you a full review in due course, but for now we can pretty easily say that Samsung has once again proven itself as the undisputed champ in the phablet space. The Note 4 brings the latest tech, great build quality, a whole bunch of great software features, and the first hint of a change in design. So we'll bring you more soon, but for now it's pretty clear this is the best release from Samsung in quite a while.